It is 6 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Is Sophie on?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do roll call. We do have a quorum. More are they on?
She was on. The note taker.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Martin.
Jennifer Falsby.
Beth Merrill.
Steve Strong.
Caitlin Benson.
Kelly Tarbo.
Lane Millington.
Deb Higuera.
He's unmuted.
And Craig. You're good. And Craig. I'll say it for you.
Sorry about that.
All right. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, I have an addition, that I can have an executive session to discuss, the co-curricular stipends for the negotiation contract. That can be added.
Motion to add that, and then anybody want to second it?
Second.
The motion to go in is the only one we have to read, not to add that on, right?
So do you want to do the executive session now or some?
I think we should do it at the end, unless it matters, yeah.
Okay, so that I've got that all written out. So at the end when you're ready.
Okay, right, we don't need it to add it, okay, that's what I was just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
no, that's okay. So we will add it after, we'll do it after public comment, so like 10:25, really isn't, but, and then that way, people who are coming and going home. Approval of the meeting minutes of March 25th. Those were the ones we had tabled because there was some discrepancy about the conversation about going to the town and some other.
And who made the motions?
Yeah, who made some of the motions, right. And I think those have been corrected. The only thing in the rereading of them that I caught this time, but I don't know if I didn't catch it last time or if it changed over the course of time, but Craig's name is spelled wrong in part of it. And instead of VSBA, it says VSCA. But I think those are small changes. We could approve them if people were willing, and get them off our plate.
Yeah, I would make that motion to approve March 25th minutes.
Second.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
I was just going to say, there's few spots where they're using the word that sounds like the word they want to use. If they spell a word, I'm trying to think of the word.
How many of them?
Oh, like
Yeah.
there and there?
Something like that.
Oh, I need to pick up on those, sorry.
I find one, I put it out. It's not
Okay,
it's
yeah,
the same results, the same, just,
as long as it's not changing the content, I
No,
think.
not at all.
Yeah, okay.
Can I just make a comment about them? So I think elected a recording secretary and did not elect a clerk. The recording secretary is actually Sophie, but we do need a clerk for when we get loans, when we do the tax anticipation. We need a clerk to sign off.
So we need to add that as well?
Yeah, and you can do it in June, that's fine.
Okay.
Because that's when I intend to do the tax anticipation.
All right. So I can add the Junes.
We questioned it that night, but we didn't remember if there was anything to, yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the March 25th meeting minutes as amended with a few corrections this time. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Is there anybody online that we're looking at too? We shouldn't be, right? Just want to make sure. All right. Anybody opposed? Perfect. And then looking at the April 28th, no, sorry, April 8th meeting minutes, push that luck. I don't think I had anything on these.
Yes, I'm trying to remember what was
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion, then we can find them and discuss them?
I move we approve the
Thank you.
April 8th minutes.
Thanks, Dave. And I'm going to try to remember to say people's names if you guys don't, so that Sophie, until she gets to know our voices, it's probably really hard. So Dave, motions.
See Michelle, I'll start.
Thank you.
I want.
All right. Any discussion?
I remember actually what it was. It was in the public or blunt comments at the end. I believe it was Steve who had mentioned that the Springfield Parent-Child Center was looking for board representatives.
Yes.
Right, and here it's read as Springfield is looking for pre-K teachers. So just
That one.
just to clean that one up.
Oh, man. All right, with that amendment, do people feel comfortable approving the April 8th meeting minutes? All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody?
Because I wasn't there.
Okay, so anybody opposed? And then Jen's going to abstain. Perfect, so those are both off record. And then any public comment?
I don't see any online. Wait a minute, you got John Harper. Got a hand up.
Oh, Jen.
Hey, so we were
Your face like jumped into like five boxes.
Yeah,
in
God.
1 second.
so Ted and I are here because we were doing the co-curricular negotiations along with members of your board and members of the Green Mountain Board. And we are here in order to answer questions about that. But did we just hear that you're just going to talk about that only in the executive session?
We were going to invite you two in.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's
To be able to answer the questions, yeah.
very good. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other board or public comments?
Don't see any.
All right, then administrative reports,
You just,
and I will not skip principal, even though it's in the middle of all of yours.
yeah, you know what, I can adjust that over. Just a second. So you've got the written report that's in there, and I think the one piece that I want to pull out of that I think is important is that as of the last 3 weeks, unless something changed in the last day or so, there has been not a lot of motion whatsoever in terms of the redistricting, the remapping effort. What they have been talking about primarily is H955. And what they are looking at is going along with the cooperative education service areas, the CESAs. So there would be 7 areas, 7 regions in the state of Vermont, where they're basically big supervisory unions with one central office, if you will, one central area of control. With the expectation that they would share special education services, business and administration, professional development, curriculum, transportation, and facilities master planning within those regions. And that's the talk that they are having currently at this point in time. Mergers would still be voluntary. There would still be a requirement to have a merger study that would happen within those regions. And the state would assign a facilitator per region to run those merger studies and those discussions with the boards that are there. And then the merger study would go in front of the populace for a vote in March to decide whether, the district would merge or not. And then whatever the vote says, what would happen. And so again, it's not law at this point in time, but this is the one piece that they seem to be discussing relatively regularly with regard to Act 7. So that's important to put out there.
Just give a bit of an update from today's news.
Uh-oh.
No, so the Senate Education Committee has 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. And so one of the Republicans today introduced an amendment to force mergers effective very soon. But it was not approved, and the Democrats can't get their version approved because the 3 Republicans won't vote for anything that doesn't include forced mergers. So they took the bill away from Education Committee, and now it's in the Senate Finance Committee. But no one can predict where it's going to end.
And they usually wrap up, mid-June, late June at the latest, the legislative sessions.
Yeah, they tried for May. But
May 8th was the scheduled date. Yeah. So, but so again, it's, we still have Act 73. It is a law. There are components of it that are still have been unchanged, and, it would be advisable to be, working towards what those requirements are, even though we don't know if that's going to change at some time in the future or not. One of the reasons that this should be hopefully a quick discussion, but hopefully should add a little bit of information to people. As the state's talking about redistricting and the reasons why they're trying to do it and why the sizes are important. I think it'll also touch a little bit on the restructuring committee's work, right? Because they're really kind of grappling with 2 things, right? They're taking a look at the idea of, what do we got to do to potentially be in compliance with Act 73's enrollment requirements? But they've also got the added burden of you guys were over the excess spending threshold without much change to your budget last year. And so the odds are you're going to be there again next year, and trying to find a way to kind of cut costs to do that. And this is with the best data that I could find. So this is 2024. And so what I'm going to say about this is I would not take this as absolute data. This is what I call kind of magnitude or relative data, right? I know that the Earth is bigger than the moon, and I can say with relative certainty that there's about 4 times bigger. Right. So that magnitude piece is what you want to get from this, even though there are some absolute numbers here. So what this does is it takes all the districts in the state of Vermont and it plots their cost per pupil versus their size. Cost per pupil, if anybody who's savvy out there, people should be saying, geez, that looks really high. Again, this is one of the difficulties with the state of Vermont, is trying to tell what data it is they're using and where it's coming from. My guess is that where we just use the cost that we're asking from the taxpayers to figure out our per pupil, this is the total per pupil cost. So they include all the grants and things like that. But anyway, the relative piece is what's important. And so you'll see a pretty strong pattern here, and it's actually fairly linear, even though there's some scattering, right? As the size of a school district goes up, what's happening to the cost per pupil? It goes down. And so this is kind of what they're playing around with, is this function here. So yeah, we know that as the size goes up, the cost goes down. And so if we have these really big districts with like 8,000 kids, we should be able to get the costs down quite a bit. The other thing that's interesting, and Vermont has a couple of outliers, a couple of small schools that actually buck the trend, but the highest performing schools are on this end, right? And that's the other thing, right? You get that economy of scale, you're able to offer programming and things that you can't otherwise. The slope here, this negative 1.495, it probably won't have a lot of meaning even if I explain it, but what it means is that for every 1 person change in the size of the school district, this is how much you save per student in the district. So if we go from 500 students in the district to 501, we're going to save $1.50 per student overall. And so to try to put that in some rational, something that's a little bit closer and that people can understand a little bit, based upon that function. If you've got a district with 500 students in it, right, that's going to be your cost per student. If you've got 1,533 in there, that's your cost per student. I chose this because that's the average in the state of Vermont for district size, right? Chittenden County's got a bunch of really big ones that mess with the average. If we're at 4,000, which was one of the proposals that came out recently about map consolidation, that would be the cost per student. And if we're at 8,000, that would be the cost per student. So to try to put this in terms that make a little bit of sense, if we converted to all the districts having about 4,000 kids in it from the average, that would be the savings per student.
Of course, there's a difference between correlation and causality. The bigger districts now are in the more urban areas. You know, they're more concentrated. They're not geographically dispersed. And it's less clear to me that if we were to merge with Springfield and Bellows Falls and everybody, to get a district of that size, that we wouldn't be able to save the same, have the same expense level as a district in Rutland or Burlington or,
And there's all sorts of variables in there. Transportation costs in some districts are going to be much greater than others, special education costs. And I'm not recommending that we go to bigger districts. And one of the reasons that I'm not recommending that is because of this number right here. Because what we're going to do is we're going to compare this to what happens when you make schools a little bit larger. So this is looking at, okay, cost per student, depending upon the size of the district. And yeah, there could be some significant savings in that, right? If we get districts that are 8,000 and everything works the way that it's supposed to, right? That would be the cost per student relative to what the average is right now, right? About $9,000 savings per student. It's significant. What would that mean in the total overall education spending that's 2.7 billion now? Well, if they get to 8K, significant possible savings there. Right, if they go to 4K, that would be the potential savings. Again, magnitude, don't take the numbers as absolute, but it's a lot, is what I would pull from it. Yep.
With that, I'll give you an old accounting motto: figures don't lie, but liars figure.
Yep.
I like that.
You know that one? It's if you look at your overhead and mandated services, the fewer students, like I'll make up a number, they mandate that you do something that costs $100,000. If you've got 100 students, that's costing you $1,000 per student.
Yeah.
If you got 1,000 students, it's not going to cost you $100. It's going to cost you $10 per student. So it's all relative. And it's the fewer students you have with the mandated costs, the higher your individual costs are going to be because you can't spread them out over any more people.
Yep. And so if we flip over and we take a look at cost per pupil as a function of school size, we see something pretty similar, right? So we got the small schools down here, right? They got on the trend line, they got a higher cost. And you can tell by looking at this graph that the majority of the schools in the state of Vermont are on the small side, right? Right. And the cost declines as the size goes up. But here's the big difference. The slope on this trend line is negative 4.2, where the other one was negative 1.4. So if you were potentially going to try to manipulate things to save money, you're better off doing it at the school level than you are at the district level, right? Potentially, if this model is true, and I'm not saying that it is, this is just sloppy math to have a discussion and put some thought into things. It looks like the savings for making larger schools is about 3 times what it would be for consolidating districts. Right, because you guys are talking a little bit about, hey, we got to be under that excess spending threshold, and we also want to meet those enrollment requirements. And so, right, based upon this, again, the big thing is the difference between the two, not the absolute values here, but right, school of 100 students, under this model from the year that I took it, right, would be cost about $17,800 per student. 300 students in a school would get you to $16,992. The state average for this year, which was 2024, it was the last year they had clear data that I could do this on, was $262. And so if, you went from a school size of about 100 to a school size of about 262, you'd be saving around, $680, $700 per kid. And based upon that change, that would be $180,000 savings for that district because of that combining into the school. So again, for discussion purposes and to put some thought into it about if we're pulling levers, what are the strongest levers to pull?
So what are all the factors that really go into coming up with a cost per pupil?
In terms of, so this is, in this case, at the school size, this is the total cost that the school is spending, not including grants divided by the number of students.
Right, which,
So it includes all your costs.
but it also is impacted by region,
Mhm.
demand, staff, whether they're veteran teachers or not, access as well.
Yeah, so you've got a school over here that's got a lot of students in it, and relative to the trend line, right, the cost is fairly high. Well, exactly. It could just be because they've got all veteran teachers.
That's right.
Yep. Yes.
Or even down to veteran maintenance crew.
But the purpose of having a trend line, and again, I'm not saying that this is true. Again, this is sloppy data just to look at leverage points. The purpose of a trend line is so that the stuff that's on this side of it, it's too high for whatever reason, it's being canceled out on the stuff on this side of the line because it's too low. That's the purpose of the trend line. Right? These are up here probably because they got something special going on. These are below it because they got something different going on. We use them to cancel each other out, get that average.
And there is no such thing as a cookie cutter student.
Nope.
That cost per pupil
not.
is way out because there's very few students that are exactly alike.
Yeah. So that the special education costs can be dramatically different depending upon the district.
Right.
Depending upon the community, depending upon the demographics, backgrounds, everything. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see that with, let's say, only elementary schools in the table.
Yeah. Actually,
Because I assume that the biggest schools way over there on the right are probably all high schools.
yeah.
I would also beg that it's quite possible that the bigger schools on the right may or may not, depending on where they're from, have a different level of poverty rate, which we know often changes the effect size of how, well, the effect size of what we know is important to kids' education is being read to at home, having other home. Most of what changes education happens at home, not in the school, according to John Hattie. And so my guess would be a lot of those bigger schools in Burlington are also schools that there's a lot of participation at home. And that is going to change your effect size, which is going to change your.
So the two things we could do, so the elementary we can split out. This data was taken the last year before they moved to the weighted averages. If we wanted to try to answer your question at least a little bit, we would do this with the weighted averages because it would take that into account, right? Adding more expense to the districts that need it because of the breakdown of the student population that they.
If we trust.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I trust the state's data
Because what you
because
just said.
the state's even saying they don't trust their data, especially on assessment. But again, just some ideas and to spark a little bit of discussion.
Principals reports. Look at me not forgetting.
Craig and I submitted a report. We're finishing up our assessment. We finished the VT cap, which was a nice treat. Some of our kids spent 3 or 4 hours working on each of the sections. And so I give our kids a lot of credit for their hard work. We're just entering the NWEA MAPS benchmark assessment window. And with all the field trips, Craig and I should have those results for you at the June meeting. Anticipated enrollment for next year, we have current enrollment of about 81 students. We've had a lot of fluctuation this year at Ludlow of kids moving in, kids moving out. We had a family that moved in on April 8th and is already gone. So, you know, and again, that creates all of these influxes and things. We do have a 5th grade teaching vacancy open, posted on School Spring. We have 4 applicants, none of which who have a certification or license to teach in the state of Vermont. One of the candidates is a current long-term sub in our building, and we'll leave that posting up for about another week before we'll move forward with deciding on whether or not to interview the person who is currently in the 5th grade position or whether to do something different. Special thanks to the PTG for a wonderful teacher and staff appreciation week. There were celebrations each and every day, and we truly thank them for all that they do for us and helping us feel special in our building. So thank you for that. Building maintenance and improvements. Ludlow Elementary School last summer had windows installed on the playground side of the building, and this summer we have new windows coming in on the parking lot side of our building, and that's going to happen over the summer. And the PTG will also be installing the treehouse structure that they purchased for us in the fall. So that's in process of getting ready to be installed. And I linked all of the Ludlow Elementary School newsletters for you in this report. So if you wanted to take a look and see what's been shared out with families, you're welcome to do so. Yes, Beth.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Just a quick question. Do you envision the same grade configurations next year?
So I put that out in a newsletter from last year. Next year we'll have we're doing pre-K 3 and 4, 5 days a week. We have a straight kindergarten next year. We'll have a 1-2 classroom with that group of 10 students moving from K1 to 1-2. We'll have a straight 3, a straight 4, a straight 5, and a straight 6.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Deb, is the person who is currently long-term subbing in eligible for a Vermont license, or would they need to go through like a peer review process?
She would need to go through a peer review process. She has a degree she has a master's degree in education from the College of St. Joe's, but her life led her in different directions. She's done a phenomenal job with students stepping in the way that she did at this time of the year. She came to us the end of March, beginning of April, and has really created a solid foundation for our students. So if we don't get any additional applicants, I'm meeting with my leadership team, and we'll take a look at what we have, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to facilities, or did you have something you wanted to add, Craig? I couldn't tell by your look.
Oh, I was just seeing if you guys had more questions for Deb. My principal's report is very similar. We finished up almost all of our VT cap before the break. We had a few makeups after April break. Students in Mount Holly also worked incredibly hard, took it very seriously. So that'll be interesting to see those results. We are also in the middle of MAPS testing, and will be done as the window finishes out at the end of May. So we will also report out our data in June. Our current enrollment is 93 students. We are anticipating 86 next year, so a little bit of a drop. We also have are posting a vacancy for 5th grade. Katie Buckley has been teaching in the 5th grade this year on an emergency waiver. She has a bachelor's degree, and she has already, by the end of this month, will have completed 18 credits of a master's degree and toward her teacher's license. We have 4 applicants so far. And my leadership team and I are also interviewing them in the next week or so. Katie has done a tremendous job. Deb, I'm not sure if you've mentioned that we have a shared math interventionist position. So 50% at Ludlow and 50% up at Mount Holly. That person is not returning this year for the coming school year. She's actually going to be done on Friday. We also had a really nice teacher and staff appreciation week. PTG did a great job. Lots of families also shared very kind, generous, thoughtful gestures, treats, and notes, and all kinds of really supportive thank yous. And our big building and maintenance issues this summer are the roof replacement project and the resolution of the PFAS water problem. And I also put links to our weekly notes.
Thank you. Any questions?
Craig, how about your grade configurations for this year?
Ours is remaining the same.
Yeah. I think it might help the restructuring committee if both of you could update the projections for next year by grade. Not today, but when you have a chance, because it's changed since the one we got a couple months ago.
We can certainly update that, and I can send that to the board if that's okay with Lane to send that out to the board. Craig and I will work on that tomorrow and get that to you.
Thank you.
And then just as added humor, if you find one really good fifth grade teacher, how are you going to decide who gets it?
Rock, paper, scissors, or they'll all have to come to one place.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Facilities?
So in terms of the facilities that Craig already mentioned, the two big projects. The roof there is finally a contract. Todd actually went down, sat in the office and banged on the door and made sure that they, gave him the contract, and that's been signed and that is ready to go. The PFAS work, Cheryl had a party in her office a week or so ago where all the groups that were involved in that came in to kind of discuss the work that needed to be done. And then they had a big signing ceremony where all the paperwork associated was signed. The document of the right away, does the board need to sign that?
They don't need to sign that, but this is, there's a memorandum of understanding that the board signed, and then they had to revise it, changes. And it appears that our lawyer sent it to the town's lawyer, who did some additions, edits on it, I guess I should say. And our lawyer is fine with it. The Mount Holly Select Board signed the edited document, but we never got it. So now I have the somewhat edited document because he had signed it. So the back page isn't edited. The rest of it is, but Paul Orchowski had signed it on behalf. The beginning of this process, but this is an updated one. The town signed it in 24, but we have not signed this document. So I am looking for a signature on that. This did go in the folder for everybody to look at it. So I don't know if we have to have a motion to do it. We are way down this rabbit hole, so we have a problem with now. We are too late. Yeah. The water project is slated to start no later than July 20th. The roof will be done prior to that.
We need a motion to allow Kelly to sign it.
Yeah, let's just do it to cover it later.
There is. I'll make a motion. I can't talk right now.
We'll do that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right, so it sounds like, Katie, you are making a motion to sign the revised and restated memorandum of agreement, which is currently dated the 20th day of September, 2024. Cheryl, do you know what edits were made? Because I don't. Is that the motion we're making? Sorry, that's it. Somebody wants to second it. Thank you, Dave. So it looks like what was changed is, is it these underlying things? So southwest became northwest. Southeasterly became northeasterly along the tank overflow line. Storage in the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, it says they took out the word well and added water storage tank and water lines. And then in the next paragraph down, it says, the first sentence is all there, and then at the start of the well and all costs associated, blah, 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 is taken out, and they added in to the water storage tank and water service lines with the easement. So it's nothing overly financial or.
So, maybe that's the easement.
That's the easement deed, okay. All right. Okay, so, all right, back up. All right, whereas. So in the 4th whereas, the old one read, whereas the town select board on April 13, 2021 passed a resolution finding that the public good of Mount Holly requires the grant of an easement to the district to access the well for construction and maintenance of underground water and service lines, and agree to terms with the district related to implementation of a conceptual plan for the transportation of drinking water to the well to the district's property. And whereas the conceptual plan contemplated by the parties in 2021 has since been modified, and the parties seek to set forth the modified terms of the plan herein. We're all good with that? Jargon, great. All right. And then under number 1, connection plan, the beginning is all the same. And then they took out the word certain. Installation of certain, and then they added underground water service lines and related components on town property. And then they took out everything after that. So the included is not in there any longer. And then cost and maintenance, they crossed out the word decommissioning. Oh, and then there's a lot on this page about the permitting. So 3 has changed a lot. Both parties are permittees.
Well, that date must have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the, it's in gray, so it's really hard to read. I'm sorry. On the existing public non-transient, non-community water operator systems and the source permitted, water system construction permitted to the district, the well, on January 19th, 2024. That must have been when you and I went to oh no, that was 2 years ago. Sorry. I don't know what day it is. That the existing wastewater system on January 31st, 2026. The district shall take all steps necessary to obtain an updated operating environmental conservation. The district will maintain a water operator to conduct inspections. And then the part in the town property, they took out, parties anticipate the state of Vermont will issue a permit, and then including its water operator. Then the rest talks about the easement deed, which I already read. And they added at the very end, in addition, as an inducement for the town to sign any and all state, municipal, or other governmental permit applications as co-applicant or otherwise, and shall be a permit holder in connection with the activities to be undertaken by the district permit status, each as necessary to accomplish resulting activities enumerated here. And the district further agrees to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the town, its board members, officers, agents, employees from liability that may arise by virtue of the town's permit status, including but not limited to fines, penalties, damages, yada, yada.
They had a lawyer.
They had a lawyer.
So this is Mount Holly, and this is for the water.
Yes.
Thank you.
And all the permits and all the documents, as far as I know, are in place and ready to go. This is
That's the old one.
Which starts mid-July.
by the 20th. Yeah, there's 2 other school projects ahead of them. So they have a 90 days from July 20th to have drinking water in school and everything. So
Oh, yes, so mid-September,
by the end of September.
end of September.
So we have a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of us signing the revised and restated memorandum of agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? It's the gym over again.
Hopefully this will be done. This will be behind us. Part that won't be would be the remediation. And I know that that will never be resolved because they've been finding a source. So they can't remediate what they get. So
That's a good. All right. Abilities, curriculum?
Actually, I think it was at this board that we kind of had the discussion about, how the state is missing, a full codified kind of curriculum. And, we kind of talked about, well, there's curriculums that are out there that are based upon Common Core Next Generation Science Standards, and there's some good ones. Why don't you use those? Well, that's exactly what's been done. Louisa had pulled together from some of the best performing districts in the state and out of state. She has created the full K-12 curriculum for math, science, and ELA, and is currently working on social studies from K-12. The elementary side of things, which is primarily pertinent to this district, right? The schools are actually in good shape in terms of performance. And one of the reasons is because you have high quality curricular materials that the teachers are drawing from as they teach from day to day. This curriculum will kind of underpin that and help them make, a few adjustments. If the curricular materials that they're using, say that this is what needs to be taught, and the Common Core says that this is what needs to be taught and this is where you should focus, it'll help them prioritize what they do day to day in the classroom. The biggest focus, which doesn't pertain as much over here, is at Green Mountain High School. Because they are in a similar boat that they need those curriculum documents, which they now have. But they also are missing what the elementaries have, and that's the high quality curriculum materials to help deliver the instruction to the students. And so they've been kind of scrambling around, taking a look at the surplus money to see what we can purchase to kind of support the curriculum that's going on.
Can you give an example of that?
Which piece?
The high quality curriculum materials.
So the programs, and Deb and Craig can probably speak to it a little bit better. On the elementary side, they would be your programs that you were using to deliver ELA instruction.
So you talk, ELA.
ELA and mathematics. Yeah.
Math manipulatives, kids.
Say that again, Beth.
Math, the extraordinary extra cost in materials, like all the math materials and phonetic readers and everything. Is that what he's talking about?
Well, if you can go through your ELA and your math programs that you're using.
Sure. So this year, currently, we have Haggerty and Foundations, and we're piloting UFly for phonics and phonemic awareness. We have the EL curriculum, K through 6, which is a very robust reading and writing program. We do EDM, Everyday Math, for Everyday Math, the 4th edition for math. It's a spiraling curriculum. And we supplement that currently with IXL Math and Lexia Reading, which are 2 online programs that students use. And next year will be just using UFly. Foundations will become a tier 2 instructional program for kids. And we're moving to STAR 360 for an assessment. The assessment is K through 12. And it also comes with a program called Freckle, which will take the place of IXL and Lexia and provide personalized pathway for students based on the assessment. And the STAR 360 next year will also have the ability to progress monitor, particularly for intervention groups. And then for math interventions, we used Bridges program.
So when you were speaking about at the Green Mountain level,
So what
talking
happened?
about the extra costs are those programs.
For the Green Mountain level, the situation that they are in, and this is true of most of the schools across the state of Vermont at the high school level, is that when they switched to the laptop model, the one-to-one, they stopped buying curricular materials. They stopped buying textbooks. They stopped buying any resources that would support that learning. And so they kind of got a double whammy. They don't have a strong full curriculum to follow, and they don't have the programs that if they had been using the program would have at least kept them kind of on track. So they're doing really good and awesome teaching over there, but it's not really aligned as well as it should or could be. And so the curriculum piece is now set up and ready to go into place in the fall. And then the goal is to have the curricular resources to support it as well on top of it. And that would come from surplus on the Green Mountain side. Yeah.
The other day when we were at our restructuring meeting, it came up as a question on whether the curriculum is compatible to multi-grade teaching. And is there ability to do that with the type of curriculum we have? And I think in the future, we'll be trying to explore some of that.
So
Us.
I can speak a little bit to that. We found that math in particular was hard to teach at a multi-grade level using the program that we currently are using. Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it easy? No. With the EL curriculum, we had a map of units, and the way that it was structured in a multi-grade classroom is that one year they would do 2 modules from one grade level and 2 modules from the other grade level, and they would just make adjustments to the expectations and the assessments and things as they went. The problem with that is if a student wasn't with us or moved from a different school, they're getting half and half. And then when you go to single grades, you have that problem of, okay, what did you teach? What didn't you teach? And there's so much within those programs that even getting through the 2 and 2 is very difficult. And then, for example, in the first and second grade, first graders are still not readers, second graders are readers. So when you're doing 2 first grade modules and 2 second grade modules, you do a disservice to each grade level in that band, where in 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th, where kids are stronger readers, you don't have that necessarily, but in the primary grades, it's definitely a challenge.
I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of looking at the state of Vermont, right? Because, Vermont has adopted the Common Core, but yet the one underlying principle of the Common Core was this idea that if everybody is teaching to the Common Core, if a kid leaves one district and goes to another, they're not going to be left behind. They're going to have pretty much the same basic education under them that they would receive in every district. So Vermont adopted the Common Core and then said every district will develop its own comprehensive curriculum.
Okay.
So the misalignment is huge. The last 2 pieces I'll say on curriculum is that we're having discussions at the middle school level about a realignment, especially of the math curriculum, to try to, at least for a year or 2, to kind of double up on the math so that all students have completed algebra by the end of the grade and are coming into the 9th grade year in geometry and able to do the statistics that the state currently kind of requires under its VCAP system. The other piece of this is also trying to rearrange things in terms of what is expected in terms of career readiness, college and career readiness for students. And that's that every student is in a position to have the opportunity to take calculus before they graduate. Don't have to take it, but putting them in the position if they can. and then all students should get through Algebra 2. Yeah. That's the Algebra 2 is kind of funny. The discussions in the state of Vermont, especially with the businesses that I had in previous years, the biggest limiting factor for them to be able to hire graduates is mathematics, and it's specific with Algebra 2. They don't seem to have those skills. So, good conversation.
Any other things on the curriculum? Financial report.
Okay, we are through April. This year is just zipping along. So we're at 78.75% expenditures in this year's budget, which is below, the 10-month average would be, so that's good. The overage in the salary lines is mostly due to the additional steps that we gave for negotiations. One of the concerns that I have, I brought up at TRQ, is that special ed is, from an expense standpoint, about going to be about $1 million over budget. A lot of that is considered an excess cost reimbursement. So after $67,000, we get an additional higher rate of reimbursement. So we'll get a majority of that money back, but I expect that we'll still have some expense that will go out to the district of that. So
Those are out of district placed students.
the majority of that is yes.
And then I think there was the intent to bring some students back to our own program that just, they didn't meet.
Right, so there's a handful of new students that went out. But we did start 2 programs at the high school level, and, when we planned this program in the fall, we had an intent to bring more students back than we were able to when the program kind of came to fruition of what we were able to do and services to provide, that we weren't able to bring everybody that we thought we would. So, a couple of things. Next month, I will bring back the tax anticipation note that we do every June to get us through until taxes are paid. The other thing was in that the water project grant, there's a timing of reimbursement, and that project's going to be done July, August, and September, which are not our higher cash flow months. And so they have suggested that we get a bridge loan, and any interest that we would pay on that would be reimbursable by the grant that we got. So if everybody seems on board with that, I will look into what that would actually cost us, and it will certainly help not tie up our cash flow. The state is not, the grant is through the DEC, and the state is just not quick about doing that reimbursement. So I could submit, but it's still maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we get that payment back. So I'm going to look into doing that.
Can we do it in one loan, or does it have to be 2 separate?
So the fact that they're going to reimburse us the interest, I think we would need to do it in 2 so that we would be able to specifically say, this is what that's for.
I would assume the contract is percentage of completion.
Yes.
You pay, so you wouldn't necessarily want to have all the money up front, because you would pay, 25, 30%
Right.
at start, 50, 75, then 100.
Yeah. And it may work out, we don't need to use it, but I'd rather have it. And
It takes 30 days to reimburse the minimum.
yeah.
The headings. I realize the first budget is the current year budget.
Yeah. We write current year on that.
25, 26. And then the second one is 25, 26 actual.
Yeah.
The other budget then is what, last year's?
The 8 million.
Yeah.
8 was current year.
Yeah, I think
So for 20, yeah.
the idea
And
was
then the last column is the actual for last year. To date.
Yes.
the idea was to have I think it was David may have brought it up at the time, was to have the previous years on there so you could see where we are this year compared to what we look like.
But without, I had to do the math to figure out which columns you were using. I
Did you pass?
figured out where the 78% came from. But,
Okay, other questions on the financial? I have one other thing I'd like.
well, is it normal that you're going to be short on revenue versus expense
Till we get to the end of the year.
until the end when the towns pay.
My next conversation will help you understand why. So
We think alike.
that's people. So one of the things that I've been struggling with for a while, trying to just decide how to move forward with it. And so I'm coming to the board for some guidance on this and thoughts. So I gave you the law of what the treasurers are supposed to do within 20 days after the school tax becomes due and payable within a such period of time as may be agreed upon both writing of the select board and school boards. They should deposit into the school accounts. So they have 20 days to get it to us, or they can come up with a written agreement of a payment plan, essentially. David Johnson did that. I had a paper from him every year, and he was pretty diligent in making sure we had that on time. When I questioned him about it, he said, well, we've had an agreement, but he had an agreement probably with Union 39 and the individual school districts, not with the Ludlow-Mount Holly. And it's worked, and I haven't really, worried too much about it, but it is not working out well this year for a couple different reasons. Every time we get to payroll and AP week, we have to call one of the towns and say, hey, are you going to pay us? And, Mount Holly's had a little bit of a turnover there. And so that's been problematic. We've got a check from Ludlow since 4/17. We got one at 5/1, but Mount Holly hadn't paid. I think that's March's payment. But anyway, they still owe us both about $800,000. And 799,201, it's 751,01. So my question is, do we push them to pay us within the 20 days of that due date? Now, there is some caveats. If someone hasn't paid, they don't have to pay us. But within 120 days of it becoming delinquent, they have to pay us. So they potentially have to go out and get loans to do it. Ludlow's is 4 times a year, and Holly's is once a year, November. August. No, okay, November 1st. Okay. So within 20 days of that, they would have to pay us the percentage that they owe us on what was collected. So the positive for us would be, one, we would have a bit of amount of money and be able to, interest is great right now. I won't go trade. This interest is fairly good right now. And so, we have the opportunity to pay some interest back for the school district. The drawback of this is that, if we needed money, and I've always been able to kind of work with the towns, saying, hey, we're going to need some money, can you cut us a check? But it's hard to beg every month. It'd be nice to know that it was just there. I had previously arranged for money to come in more in November and March when we paid the tuition bills. As they did the first year, it hasn't really happened since then. I don't have a payment plan from the town of Ludlow. I don't have a consistent date. Mount Holly used to be like the third weekend of the month. I don't know that there's a consistent thing with Ludlow going on. So I guess my question to you is, do we pursue the 20 days after the tax collection date, or do we push having payment schedule that they can adhere to?
Of course, Mount Holly will have a new treasurer hopefully later this month. And so it may be that you can have conversations with I guess there'll be a lag until the person knows the job, but it might be some informal conversations to get, just to see where they think we are.
They're making money off of our money.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, do we go to the select board and ask for this, or does the school board go to the select board, or do you go to the town treasurers? I mean, I think the
agreement in writing is between the select board and the school board of directors.
Okay. So, I mean, I think if you're begging for money every month, we need to come up with something. I also think it's lovely that we did this for 100 years and it worked really well, but times are changing and budgets are getting bigger, and it's time to make it formal, would be my guess.
To get it before the 20 days.
Yeah, I mean, or even say every month on the 30th,
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
pay
good.
us, whatever. I mean, I don't know how, whatever. But if this is the law, then I think we should aim for that.
Yeah, is I'd be okay with like doing a payment plan per se, but a very strict,
Yeah.
this is the date that it's due. For each month.
Just really simplify. So like, they're not going to give me a break if I'm like, oh, can I pay you this month?
Yeah.
Oh, can I do this?
Yeah.
And they're giving me a break, so why should they be getting a break?
And,
Pay you up to.
everything is digital now, electronic transfer, and so
Yeah.
it just makes more sense to just know when things are coming and going, be consistent.
Can you explain how that cash flow works? In other words, what they're going to be paying you is the budget the district's put together, not necessarily the amount the state's saying for the schools you got to pay. Because the way they keep talking about it at the select board meetings is that they're paying the state and the state then pays you. So I'm missing something in translation here.
So when the taxes are collected, there's payments that the town has to make to the state. And then they turn around and give that money. Well, this is, or maybe they hold back the money. I'm not really sure the answer to that one. About what is due to the school district. So
Yeah, 'cause-
I do have Ludlow-Mount Holly's cash flow.
They're collecting two separate, right, they're collecting municipal taxes as well as the school taxes.
Right.
Each town has their own cash flow
Right.
of what they're supposed to be collecting, what goes to the state, and what either stays or gets sent back. I don't know that one.
I know, I keep getting confused. That's why I'm asking. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know, we pay a lot more in tax, in school
We pay a
tax
lot,
than
yeah.
than goes to
We
the
collect a
schools.
lot more in education tax than we actually have for our budget.
Right.
Yeah, we all know that. I don't want to, we have a fairly good relationship with the town, and I don't want to antagonize that by demanding that they pay us, but I also don't want to come to every payroll and go, oh, do we have enough money to go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a whole grocery store with a calculator. How do you do that?
Yeah, so in turn, the central office budget, the supervisory union office is funded by the districts. We need the monies from the school to pay our bills as well, so it's a trickle down. There's a lot of players.
I
A schedule can meet the expectations of the statutes.
We could agree on something.
Yes.
Yes.
I would think, that's just my opinion. I would think that would be the most.
By the end of the year, they have to pay us up. True up to what they owe us. So.
They'd be very clear that if they miss the scheduled cutoff, then we're gonna go to this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we could do to you, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're gonna allow you to pay
Yeah.
each month, or
And I don't know if that's a conversation with the treasurer. I don't really know how it works in the town, so like.
So I think the decision probably for the board is either, is she sticking straight with the law, or do you want her to try to negotiate something with the town that then comes back to the board for the board to consider?
well, is it Cheryl who would then go talk to the town? Yeah.
Good line, I think they go.
Okay.
Bring dogs.
This is, David had a schedule, this is what his schedule looked like, and it's every month what we were gonna get. And, he generally paid us the third week of the month.
So Ludlow should have something like that too.
A new one for Mount Holly.
And with the new person coming in. But
And with David being dead.
Yeah, so a new one made, that's perfect, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Probably.
And I think it would be,
Either he had that on his own personal and, took care of it.
It looks like a typewriter, so I'm good.
no, David, not actually, don't.
David, that's like,
But he was good, and he was consistent, and, he got things done, so.
right.
I just think for your sake,
When he
Cheryl,
died.
try to go for one. Like if you're doing it for Ludlow, Mount Holly, Chestnut, it should
So
be.
I will say the
one.
Green Mountain districts pay within the 20 days.
Okay. So, yeah, so let's just try to keep it consistent, and then if it's too hard for them and they bring that up, then we can negotiate something, but let's shoot for what's consistent.
So pay within 20 days.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have a problem with that, because technically they'd collected the money. Right?
Yeah, as I say, what would be the
Yeah.
need for them not to meet the 20 days?
How frequently do they collect taxes?
At least once a year.
Yeah.
One of those 4 times a
So
year.
if you're once a year, there should be no problem. If you're four times a year,
I suspect I know what's going on. They used to give 4% discount
Right.
if you paid early.
Right.
So I tend to suspect they were holding on to it, earning money, offset that 4%. I think.
Yeah.
playing the floor.
While Ludlow is paying every quarter, you got a quarterly amount, so they don't got the money to hold on to, but you don't get a discount if you pay on the first day it's due or the last day it's due.
I know in Ludlow, they struggle with FEMA reimbursing for some of the things that have happened, and I know that's been a challenge. It's been a huge challenge. I do know, David, way back in the day when I was first started, Dave would take the tax anticipation note that we got, and he'd invest it. And he would figure out and move money and do whatever he did, but he'd make $10,000-$15,000 by the end of the year, and it came back into the school. Those days are gone. That's not happening. Okay,
So do I need to go to the select board?
Right, well, and so, right, who communicates with who? I mean, do you want a motion from the board that we feel that the towns should comply with the law and pay as required, unless there's an undue difficulty of some sort that they want to discuss with us?
we craft a letter when.
I can, it would be, the board should, as David is touching on, should make a motion to empower us to do so. First, I'd rather go over in person, have the discussion first, and then send a letter, just so they got a heads up, but
And
we can work out the detail.
I think they're interviewing tomorrow.
Today.
Today. No, Thursday, I thought. All right. They're interviewing 2 candidates,
Yeah,
4:00 today or 4:00 tomorrow. I'm not sure which.
yeah, that's the person that's gonna cut the check.
Yeah.
They'll be directed by the select board. I'm assuming.
So Dave, do you want to make a motion to authorize Lane and Cheryl to discuss with and craft a letter to the Mount Holly and Ludlow Select Board to request that we start to follow the 20-day rule in the law or make some payment plan?
So we,
Or reach out directly to,
I think that we have to ask that and let them come back and say, that's not gonna work for us.
Yeah.
Because if you give them the or, they're gonna take
Right,
the or.
Yeah, so we can.
So what I would say is that we expect them to follow the plan unless there are undue circumstances that prevent them from doing so, or you want to just be quiet on that, say, sure, that we think they should follow the law. And we direct and authorize you to have conversations to work out whether it's oral or written, how to get there.
So can I clarify your motion? What I think I hear you say is that you are making a motion to authorize Lane and Cheryl to have discussions and write a letter to the Mount Holly and Ludlow Select Board to have them begin following the 20-day rule in the, what is it called? The statute, the law.
Title 16, subsection 4.6.
Yeah, 16,426.
I think that's what I said.
Okay. Would somebody like to second what Dave said? Thanks, Jen. Any other discussion about it? If you want me to go to the selectmen's meeting before June 17th, I will.
I think they're gonna have a couple of special meetings this month.
Okay. Yeah, whatever, if we're on the agenda or whatever, I'll go.
Whatever works.
Tell me.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of Dave's motion? Aye. Anybody opposed? Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. All right, so old business.
So,
Paul,
I'm sorry, can I ask you, or can I ask Lane, is there any update on the special ed study work that's going ahead?
So this is her, this week and next week. She is conducting all the interviews and she's here. I think she came in yesterday, today and tomorrow to do actual visits and check on the service delivery model that's being used and see how the special educators are interacting with the kids to deliver the services. So yeah. So the plan is to have the full recommendations from her by the end of the summer. And that way, you know, it allows us to get some planning done as we go into the fall, you know, especially if there's a budget impact to it, but also to plan on whatever training and whatever kind of reorganization we may need to do.
Thank you.
all right. Old business policy, the second read of the state mandated cell phone policy. Any discussion about that? Was it approved at the RSU?
There was there's a lot of discussion of the TRSU in regards to the definition of parent.
Oh,
And
right.
wanting it to be more inclusive of, you know, parent, caregiver, legal guardian. Caregiver was a word that wanted to be used.
So should we wait until they approve before we approve so that they match?
Makes sense.
People okay with that? So we'll table that. Possibly approve it in June at a third reading. And then policy is an actual third read of the class size policy.
And so we did go back, met admin council and had a discussion about, you know, the optimum recommended, and, you know, to add on to the discussion that this board had at the last meeting. So the protocol is there as well, just in case folks are interested.
So it's so confusing if you think that you need this policy and the state is guiding this policy, and yet they're telling you how many kids you need in your classroom.
Yeah, this policy here has been around for time out of mind. And so, you know, the new one about, you know, classroom enrollments and whatnot, that's new. So at some point in time, hopefully they'll merge them. Yeah.
And so I guess the question that would come from it is, if we're saying the optimum class sizes are 16 to 18, should we be aiming for that when we do next year's budget?
So I would say yes, that with the caveat being that optimum may change depending upon the class makeup. If you have a higher level of need in a class, then that would shift down, right? But again, optimum in being able to achieve it in a school that has a single class of students for a grade, you have no flexibility. It's what it is. You're either meeting the minimums or you're not. And shooting for optimum, you probably wouldn't really have the flexibility to do that. Large school, if I had 15 sections of fifth graders, you could really shoot for that. So yes, it's desirable, but I don't know if it's structurally possible.
I mean, just as an example, one of the options that the restructuring committee is looking at is having some of the grades in one school and other grades in the other school, in which case you'd have roughly 20 kids in each grade, which is, of course, is just a higher number than the optimal. I do remember that what Ludlow did a few years ago was I think they had 2 large classes, and then they had a third teacher who split some time between the classes so as to make the overall ratio more workable.
Yeah.
I mean, would you perhaps be looking at something like that? I mean, again, if
Again, that would come down to what the board, would want. Right now, I think the biggest concern as the law comes into effect is that minimum requirement. Again, if we have the flexibility to shoot for the optimum, yes. But again, structurally, I don't think we're going to be capable of that all that often.
yeah. Well, one of the Senate amendments was to delete the class size minimum requirements for small schools, which they define as a school having an average of less than 12 students per grade.
Yeah.
But it seemed, to me, there's both the minimum class size issue, and then there's the spending threshold. Right? That it may be, that we want to find ways to spend less, even if we are exempted from the class size minimum requirement. Again, nobody knows what the law is going to be.
Yeah.
I just have a clarifying question because there are 2 in here. One is replacing the other, correct? There's 2 in
So
here.
you have the policy,
Right.
which directs the superintendent to work with the principals to develop minimums and maximums.
That's the guideline.
That's the protocol. The policy is the board.
Right. Yeah, no, I just didn't see that word on there, sorry.
Over on the third read.
Right, yeah. We'll go for this on this side. Yeah, we can, yeah.
I think you tried to explain it to me for the 3rd time, and I still don't get it. Why, as each grade goes up, the number of students go up to the minimum?
That's
And
the
you tried
state
to
law.
explain this.
Well,
I don't understand.
it's also kids as they grow are more independent, so.
No. It's like if it's grade 1, minimum is 10 students. You go to 2 to 5, it's 12 students. Did they clone them somewhere or what? I mean,
Oh, just in general, not like the specific schools.
right, I'm just saying in general, why are they doing a rationale if you're starting off in grade 1 with, let's say, 10 students, that they expect you in grade 2 to have 12?
So
And then,
yeah.
it seems counterintuitive.
Like you're not, we have no control who moves in. You're probably gonna have 10 throughout the year if nobody moves in, right?
No.
Regardless. The idea is though that it's usually meant for schools that have 2 or 3 sections of kids and you're dividing a total number by 2 or 3 or whatever, and you're trying to aim for these numbers. So if you have 3 3rd grade teachers, but you're not meeting these minimums, maybe you have to move a 3rd grade teacher to 1st grade and to make minimums there because somebody retired or whatever. So I think that's just giving you some flexibility to do that. As kids grow and become more independent, a teacher can handle more. And the routines of school are down. They're able to read.
Yeah, that part, the mechanics of teaching, you can handle more students.
Right.
So like at a high school, you can handle up to 30, which would be
I wouldn't
rather
want to,
much
but I
fun. Which
foot
could
would
be
be
rather
stomping a lot.
interesting. But drive on. So I understand that part so what you're saying is they did this because of larger schools, but this doesn't work for smaller schools because, you have to figure out how you can clone kids. Increase the head count.
Yeah. Well, remember
If you start off with a low number, that's going to carry through for the whole.
The idea is to force consolidation because the smaller schools are the expensive ones. They are not going to be able to meet these enrollment requirements without combining with other schools. And so if it was done based upon
Let's check.
research that's out there, but the intent was the force for
Okay,
consolidation.
so in theory, what it is, the research is saying one teacher can handle X number, so let's use that X number, not necessarily on a practical basis.
Yeah, and but there is research that associates class size with academic performance. And so when I was figuring out what optimum would be, that was the research that I was pulling from. Was that, as class size goes up, performance goes up to a certain point, and then it starts to, so what you're going to do for optimum is your peak here.
Right, it's the same thing in your span of control. One manager optimally can control 10, not 15.
Yeah.
Okay, but I understand where the numbers came from. I just don't see how it practically can be done.
Yeah, that's the point. It can't.
This is just it almost seems like this is just a piece of paper which no one will follow.
Almost seems like that, man.
It's because in that case, as part of your job description is to go out and find 3 more families with 3 kids so that you can bring them in to make them move in.
So starting in the spring of next year, because this was pulled from the state law, starting in the spring of next year, the state will pull our data to see if we are in compliance with this. And if we are out of compliance for 3 years in a row, there are different things they can do to us as a consequence.
Oh, well, that gives us 4 years.
Yeah.
All right, so
Are we ready to pass the class size policy?
that's what I'm hoping. Or somebody want to make that motion?
Okay, so just to be clear, the first 2 pages are the policy, and the last page is the administration's
Yes.
explanation of, so we're approving the first 2 pages and leaving the 3rd page to you, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll move we approve the class size policy.
Beth moved it. Are you seconding it?
Oh, no, you already did, I'll
Beth
second.
did.
Okay, Beth, okay. Wait a minute first, we're good. I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? Sorry.
Oh,
No. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Anybody opposed? Love it. All right. We have a class size policy. All right. That brings us to new business. Consideration for appointment to the board. We have 1 Mount Holly seat, 1 Ludlow seat. We have 2 people from Mount Holly who are interested in that 1 seat. So we have June and Kurt. I think we've met June before in this role. We've not met Kurt, but I think we got some paperwork from you. So you guys want to each sort of just give a little blurb for us, and then we can maybe ask questions, and then when we're, we'll go from there. How's that?
Great. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Kurt Ellis. I've lived in Mount Holly for almost 3 years. Got a current 2nd grader at Mount Holly School. And also am a parent to kids who've graduated from Mount Holly School. And are currently at Long Trail. My professional life is focused on work related to education in large part and child well-being. I run a national nonprofit organization that I started that does work around how kids learn about food in school and experience access to good nutrition in school. And then I'm on the board of a handful of organizations, including Family Engagement nonprofit nationally. I have value to this board. It's in the realm of the fact that I'm just out in the education world a fair amount. I was in a really great school in Arkansas on Friday, saw a lot of interesting things, and I'm in a set of interesting conversations nationally around education that I'm happy to bring here however I can. And I have very little context on local issues and local players and my ability to navigate the select board and get them to pony up is probably more limited than yours. So here if I'm helpful to you all, and absolutely happy to contribute from outside the board if that's a more useful way for me to do it.
Thank you.
And I owned here in Mount Holly for about 35 years and lived here for about 19. And I'm retired. My background is accounting and IT, but I've got some credits, master credits towards child advocacy. And I am a child advocate in the family court system and educational surrogate. And I just want to give back to the community and feel this would be a good way of doing it. I'm very interested in education for the children and what's best for them. Thank you.
In the past, when we had multiple candidates, because it doesn't usually happen, we usually hear from both of them and then kind of discuss it in executive session. Do you have other input on that or thoughts?
There's one position.
There's one.
There's one position. It is okay to discuss it in executive session, but the actual vote has to.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me if the intent is that, I'll see if I can pull up the language for you.
Okay. I would suggest if we do that, if you guys don't mind, we would do that at the end with the other one so that we could move forward. What's that? Sorry.
I'm just gonna have to, I guess I could be part of the discussion. I can't be part of the vote. I have to recuse myself because she's a friend of mine.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Have a fight.
Detail.
Right.
I'm in the same boat.
Okay.
One of them's a friend and a neighbor.
Okay. I mean, it's hard because we live in a very small town. We're all kind of friends, right?
Well, we're on the same.
Oh, not in this session.
Yeah.
I don't see that on there, do you?
It will come, hang on.
So the one thing you have to be careful of, so actually I commend you both for the conflict of interest piece, because that doesn't usually happen on board, so that's great. The vote to appoint someone has to be a majority of the board. So if you got two that drop out and you've got 8 on the board, you still need 5 to vote affirmative for one of the people for them to be able to be appointed to the position. Just the rules, if that makes sense.
Part of the problem is we're on the same boards.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't have.
You can tap it first, then you'll get the message. There you go.
So it's
Not in this session.
thank you.
You're like sixth grader when I yell at you. Like,
Hurts my brain.
We just went on a field trip.
right.
Oh.
Okay, that will turn us into a problem because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minus 2 is 4.
But then you won't be able to,
Right.
you won't have the majority of.
Right.
Or.
Well, we
I
could,
suppose-
Do I think anybody is going to challenge you on that? No, and if they did, your response would be to have to redo
Right.
the process.
Okay.
Okay. I guess the other thing is that if on the initial round, I could recuse myself, and then if the majority of the people who are voting chose one candidate, I agree that I'll vote for the person that the majority chooses.
What's that?
Does that work?
I don't see why not. It's logical.
well, one come on odd days. And
Right.
Yeah, I think, well, we'll continue.
But yeah, let's see if it becomes an issue and we'll figure that out during the vote maybe. And something will come to us. My brain's starting to hurt.
It's fearful.
All right. That's that. The non-bargaining staff contracts. Yeah, the small one, which also make my brain hurt.
So it's a straight 4% increase, which was budget.
Yeah, so with the non-bargaining, these are folks that don't have unions that represent them. So typically the idea is we get a big survey from the Superintendent's Association every year that says what the average salaries are for a particular demographic. So we try to stay competitive with that. If they're already competitive, then what we try to do is figure out ahead of time, what the teachers are gonna, in this case, what the teachers were gonna bargain. So for that first year, so we estimated 4%. We were off, but the 4% was what we budgeted for. But they are in the competitive range.
Or what the other custodians say?
So there's a food service director and then a food service worker, part-time or .8.
And these percentages match other staff members closely, like bargaining and ish.
Well, I mean, if the
Ish, yeah.
Well, the Paris had a significant increase and that was, they were extremely underpaid.
Right.
But that was huge.
That's different, yeah.
Just looking at comparing Mount Holly and Ludlow, in a sense of the administrative assistants and their roles, they know we like levels.
Yeah, so Braylon is considered an office manager. Jen is considered an administrative assistant. Is there a difference? I don't know, but they both have different days that they work. There's not. Try to say, like, this is on my list to do. Let's try to get their administrative assistants on the same. But there's also, depending on the school size, it's probably needed in the summer. They need to come in, during vacations and different things like that.
Yeah, I was curious about making those two equal in both the schools.
I mean,
Was just my curiosity about the difference between the two.
some of it has to do with the days a week. And I probably forward them. That's how they get to
So they're not full-time.
their school year plus. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many days each of those work? I can look it up, but.
So Jen maybe in a few more days than Maryland in the entire school year period. Was that a few days before school started?
Change that too.
Okay.
Just like maybe in Lauren's last year, we changed it and gave one of them more days to
Make that.
get closer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're correct with that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any after-school programs?
And student supervisory union, but yes. 21C
Grant funded, yeah. Got English runs them.
And principal's contract is 365 plus 7 plus 7.
That about sums it up.
Craig is 220. That is.
And mine is 261.
You're 261, you're 220.
Steve would assume these follow sort of like union contracts, if you will. They're not union contracts, but they're sort of mirroring the union.
So
The reason I asked,
They're what we were projected for the union contracts.
right.
well, no, the reason I'm asking is I'm used to meriting, which is not mandated. And I had this argument with the charity I've worked with, where they were trying to do it as if it's how the school runs based on education. What your experience is, whether you have a master's, PhD, how much you get, how many steps you get. And it was a real convoluted system. It wasn't a school. That's how they tried to work.
So we don't have that kind of a schedule for this group of people.
But do they get merit reviews then?
They get reviews, but I would call them merit reviews because it's kind of a flat across the board.
Just based on life versus anything to do with performance.
It's not due to performance, but it is based on,
Cost of living.
cost of living, but also, like Lane and Cheryl said, they go out and look to see what other people of that job are making and try to keep competitive. It's not always a perfect system, but
Right.
so that's.
Yeah, and Ludlow-Mount Holly's in good shape. Green Mountain was lagging way behind, so we have to make some adjustments there. They actually have a policy on the Green Mountain side that, they have to be within the demographic amount for what the salaries are for the job categories.
I'm assuming Deb still sees the need in crossing guard.
Say that again, Beth.
You still see a need for crossing guard?
Yes, at this time.
Do you want to make a motion or not about this?
I move that we accept the recommended 4%.
I'll second my motion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the non-bargaining contracts?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you. Local wellness policy, street.
So this is a updated mandated policy. Not only is this required by the state, but it's required by the federal government to be able to obtain our funding for the food services that we provide.
The funding still apply considering they took away the part where you could buy from local farmers.
And still fit kids. It would be for the working kids.
I don't think so. Hardly looking forward to
Since this is the first reading, do people have questions or comments about it?
Or things you want me to research and come back with?
We actually do an annual report.
So
I'm just, yes.
no, actually, this is good. So part of going through and having all these policies be updated in the last couple of months, we've redone all the mandated policies is because like the class size policy, that there's a requirement that the district, the administration, or certain people within the district do things. Those protocols don't always exist, right? They're not, we can't find them in the district. My assumption is that they probably were doing them at some point in time, but it was never put down in writing. So the next year or two of my life is going to be trying to create those protocols. The wellness one in particular requires a wellness committee to meet, and this is to get your federal money. It sounds like that committee has not met since COVID. And so I put into the budget for the coming year a stipend for a person to do that. Cheryl was great, was able to scrape up a little money because we were able to post the position and we have a person who will serve in the role to lead that committee and make sure that we are in compliance with what this policy requires. So again, part of my role is the compliance piece. It's a big part of what a superintendent does. So we're making sure that you've told me what your policies are. And now my job over the next year or two is to go through and make sure that all those little phone call pieces that are supposed to be there in place. And so this is one. So a good question. So has it been going on? No. Is it supposed to be? Yes. Have we got a plan in place to make sure it does? Yes, we do.
Another unfunded mandate.
Is it mess with the wellness through the insurance? No.
Yeah, this is
Sort of related to that, if from time to time you maybe have a checklist that you would show us saying, these are the ones that are done, and these are the ones that I'm going to do soon, and
all of them,
right?
except for this one right now.
Yeah.
And class policy. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes.
I mean, so that, over time, we can see, the list of, the to-do list is getting shorter.
Well, it never gets shorter because when you get to the end, you start again. It's like mowing my lawn. I don't do
Smart
that.
snack.
It defines the types of foods that you are allowed to provide to kids in schools. There's a hyperlink, you can click on it. The food services people, it's a part of what they are supposed to be knowledgeable about when they're serving food. They do a good job of it. One of the things that I have been doing this last week or two since we've been working on this is talking, especially at the high school, I think is the one of the biggest problem about it, using food for rewards and bringing in, the Kit Kats and the whatnot, which is personally I don't have a problem with, but they do violate the guidelines. So they're being directed that, yeah, you can still feed kids because that's a good thing to do, but you have to do it through your food service person in your building because they know the snack guidelines.
Well, we provide stuff for hot lunch that USDA compliance is on that list that they buy from, so they know automatically that it fits the criteria. So this would be used if you're going to go outside of that. Then you would put in what it is and all the nutrition information. So this is where you may be able to jump in here to see whether it qualifies for that.
Because I don't, let's see. So the couple of times that I've gone in the mornings, like to watch the kids, the parents have gone in to watch the kids and the teachers enjoy during Christmas week or whatever. And my kid who will not eat breakfast at home was more than happy to grab the powdered donuts and
You'll probably find that they are, well, hopefully you will find that they are.
It's talcum powder, not sugar.
Specific, full grain.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Remember the same thing with the cereal choices.
Well, either that or they're being fed prior to when the school starts or after school, with the exceptions could go in. And also, according to this, that if your parents make anything for a celebration, they've got to follow the smart snack standards, which can be interesting.
Right. And
There's a lot of friction.
The police stand, right? Yeah. It's the one that holds these guidelines, for that, very strict.
So as we start rolling this out and making sure that it's being adhered to properly, that would be the teachers as the first line of defense, and then it's the principal in that order. So the problem with these guidelines is, I would argue, at the elementary level, and Deb and Craig could pipe in, is enforcing that is probably one of the biggest areas of friction with parents. Whereas at the high school, the biggest area of friction is usually the cell phones.
I would say the excitement that a child has already of wanting to bring in cupcakes for her birthday on Friday.
Yeah. So the federal government is the federal government is the turd in the punch bowl in terms of this.
So the school won't allow you to do that. Right, to kindergarten.
But I always just from same as you, I would think from a nursing perspective, I always make sure there's no allergies I know about in the classroom. So I'll just I always do mine from scratch. But I'm not going around getting whole wheat flour.
But remember, ketchup's a vegetable. No, that anytime there's federal money, the regulations are intense. The most regulated thing that schools do is food services, and it's a phone book. It's incredible, all the things that the food service folks need to know every day to be able to follow and do. It's almost a human. Yeah.
All right. So we will bring this back for a second read in June. Calendar, meeting calendar.
So this is just something to kind of discuss a little bit. And there's an example of what a yearly kind of agenda, a calendar is. These are primarily for policy governance, because there are reports that happen annually, and this spells out when they happen and kind of the purpose. And so the question was, does the Ludlow-Mount Holly Board want to develop some sort of annual calendar that has on it all the stuff that happens every year in the same month, either by statute or just because that's what you do? The other piece that I would recommend that we standardize is when the meetings at Ludlow Elementary and Mount Holly occur, right? The school board kind of switches back and forth. And then when the annual meetings occur, depending upon whether it's an even year or an odd year. And that way everybody's on the same page, and we can predict ahead of time. And so,
Your mnemonics is
yeah, that one's small. It's awesome on the computer. It's horrible on paper.
That's our CRSU one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's a sample.
Yeah.
So I think part of this comes from that as there's changeover, people don't always remember and things are getting lost and meetings have been wrongly. Well, yeah, because we're supposed like it all like the budget information meeting is supposed to alternate every year and it hasn't because of mistakes and turnover, and it's nobody's fault. It's just, little nuances like that get lost in the shuffle. So if we have it all planned out, people would know kind of the main highlights of the agenda could be on there. We would know we could add in maps testing finishes this. So the next month we could have that report and it would all be on here. So if I would like to do it, if the board would like it, then we can start working on it.
That usually is and I don't know if the boards do that, but usually the boards will sit down. That kind of guides their strategic planning session. If they have one in the summer, they kind of map this out so that they know everything's happening.
Is there, I'm just trying to think, in my mind, I'd love to have the odd years, odd months. I always remember odd is.
So that's the OLO, right?
But-
Odd is Ludlow.
But for the board meetings, it says the odd months would be at Ludlow. For the annual meetings, it said odd years would be at Mount Holly. If those can be the same, just remember odd is.
Yes, we could, but it would mean that you would double up in Ludlow because they're out of sequence.
The budget.
The annual meeting.
Oh, for the one time.
Yeah, so you would.
Well, no, because we've already been in the wrong place so many times in the last 3 years.
So I was just trying to keep the pattern going that we were currently under.
Yeah.
But no, you definitely can change it.
that's
That's
fine.
all just suggested.
I was just curious, or even if you do the other way around.
Yeah. AO, right.
That's fine.
Annual is opposite. You're gonna.
I'm not remembering those mnemonics. for
Yeah.
sure.
I can't get that.
I just used to remember that, Ludlow was sort of the main and Mount Holly was the odd, and then in my head that worked, but, so we'll work on this, and if we do a summer day, we can work on it then, or we'll just keep kind of plugging away at it.
And also, if you have goals that are for the district that are distinctly different than the work that's happening under the policy governance piece, that would be a good time to
Right.
figure out what you want to be. We have what is spoken on.
All right. Dave, I know you talked a little bit about the Rural School Community Alliance. Do you have more, or are we good there? Or the,
Well, I mentioned last time that the Alliance would appreciate a contribution because the members of the Alliance are all volunteers, but they employ a lobbyist who they say has been very helpful at giving them advice, about saying, what point do you just say, no, we don't like what you're doing, we're against it? And what they've been trying to do rather than that, say, all right, you need to change this one, this one, and this one, and working with the members.
Has the restructuring or has the Rural School Alliance group had any effect on what's happened, been happening, changes have been made?
But yeah, I think if they weren't there, that we'd already be merged.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I can say that
Specifics.
when I go to the superintendent's meeting and the education committees come in to talk with the superintendents, the Rural School Alliance is mentioned in terms of, the things that they're considering. They actually bring it up.
Good. I just want to make sure, we're seeing the,
Yeah,
and everyone, other people are.
Yeah.
No, and it's, there's going to be a big fight, between now and the end of June, between what the governor wants and the governor and the secretary want, and what the smaller district.
What was the amount you were talking?
$500. It's just an amount.
Where do they come out in sense of funding for? Yeah, right. Scares check. Yeah, there's a plus specific spot that it has to come from.
I'd take it out of the board budget, but I don't know what's happening.
so Dave, are you making a motion that we incorporate $500 to the rural school Community Alliance.
Well said, yes.
Moving along. Anybody want to second Dave's motion?
Well, I will, if there's room in the budget.
Okay.
If you can find a line for it.
We could stand in the road with a booth.
Done that too. So I have to. Yeah. Some flags at the school get rested.
While we're waiting for Cheryl to find that, do you want to talk about the restructuring committee and we can go backward a little bit?
Yeah, so the committee's been meeting. In my mind, most of the focus so far has been on getting the process down. And I think you all know that the survey went out.
So I heard.
And that I think most of us thought that was premature. But then again, the three basic options that we're trying to work through are closing one of the schools, putting some of the grades in one school and other grades in the other school, or going back to a multi-grade model. And the survey, I wouldn't pay much attention to the numbers that are on the survey, but if you go through it, people make a lot of good comments about the pluses and minuses of the different ideas. I guess to me, one concern is that to try to have it in place to decide what we want to do by the end of this calendar year is a very ambitious schedule.
October.
Yeah.
And it may be that we want to take a year longer than that. But
We have like parameters and information to gather. And as you gather information, people's anxiety increases, of course. And I think the principals were trying to find a way to gather information through the survey, which is fine. And there's some information there we can use. We need to now gather, the meeting minutes will be coming out probably by tomorrow or the next day. Gather information around the financial, and David had done a little summary of that and what that may look like. As well, we've jumped back and forth inviting Cavendish to come in on the conversations, but I think at this point we're leaving that to Lane to continue conversations with them and allow them to come in and join our meeting whenever they want. Our next meeting is June 1st. And by then we're working with Craig and Deb on, they're going to be presenting, I'm assuming Craig might have done a little bit of it today because he had a staff meeting this morning, presenting to their staff that we would like to come and talk to faculty about how they feel about multi-age, multi-grade. There's a lot of questions to answer around whether that fits well with teachers, fits well with building space and use of rooms, and whether you could even have a room like this anymore if you had some of the configurations there. So there's a lot to look at, and we're hoping to try to consolidate it all down onto a report that, and as you do those discussions, anxiety comes up for a lot of people. But it's a good group of people having that conversation. And we do, I think I would like to say professionally, personally, to apologize that the survey caused stress with, is it Green Mountain or TRSU? I don't know, I get confused.
It brought up the TRSU board, but it was.
Yeah, and we apologize. There was no intent of harm. It was, and some of the information is usable, some isn't. And I think that's it.
yeah, I think as far as Cavendish, I think the message to Cavendish and the Green Mountain Board is that if they're interested in doing something, we're receptive to listening to them.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not our job to decide what Cavendish and Green Mountain should do. That's their job.
And I think one of the challenges is, I see that they're giving outdoor classroom things modular or whatever. And so, you know, I think everybody's just trying to work together to try to figure out how to, and it's my understanding, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, the principal is leaving. 2 principals are leaving. So, you know, we're open. June 1st, join.
Yeah, and I think I listened to the meeting your last meeting. And there are some representatives from the Green Mountain Board who are present and listening. But I think the plan to bring it back to their board for discussion, whether they should have, you know, a committee similar to what we have, if they should have one on that side. Yeah. So they're taking what we're talking about, listening to it all, and then we'll discuss developing their own. Yeah. And then we'll work together.
Generally, so you don't have any in your budget line, but there is the tuition. We do have a savings in tuition. So within the budget overall, there is money. It's not within the board of funds.
Is it okay to do it?
So Dave had made the motion. Now we have the ability to pay for it.
That's like,
All right. Any other discussion about giving the Rural School Community Alliance $500 to support their lobbying?
Would they give us a pen? Just kidding.
All right.
anything that's
Is this the same-
pay for any
Is this
changes.
the same committee that we used to pay dues to and we said no?
No, that's a different, that's, yeah, totally different.
School Boards Association.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Dave, will you send us the information on
Yeah.
where it goes? They're probably going to need a W-9 probably.
Right, then
So I
policies
have a
that,
question
oh yeah.
on the restructuring with the survey, because I didn't take it. Did it differentiate between parents and young people?
So the initial, there were two summaries. The first summary was just a general summary that lumped everybody together. The second one shows separately by town and by whether you're a parent, a community member, or employee. And so it's all there in the second one. Take the time to go through it.
Just the general, being the accountant in the group, I hate unfunded mandates. When your rural school committee alliance, if they want schools to merge, the state should pay for it. It's, you know, because when you think about it, when you're going to do a merger, let's just make worst case scenario, you're going to merge both the grade schools into one. Well, it's going to be in a building, whether you're take Ludlow, Mount Holly, or build a third one. There's going to be a lot of costs involved in doing that. I'm not claiming I know what those costs are, but I keep looking at this whole project as they're trying to save money, but it's going to cost money, and it's another, what I call an unfunded mandate.
All the money that
And then
you
they
saved the last
complain
time we
about
did
how and costs.
No, and the big push on the merger will be if they really want to have regional high schools. That it'll probably mean building a completely new high school somewhere between Ludlow and Chester, and Springfield. So somewhere not at the center of any of those. Right?
Or just look at the practical
Because that
aspects.
181 is going to help us build that school.
If you want, right. If you want to combine Mount Holly and Ludlow, let's pick either one. Could either one take all the students? And the odds are, from what I've seen so far, no. You ain't got the
Ludlow.
school.
Ludlow could.
In other words, Ludlow would have to be able to take on somewhere between 160 and 200 students.
I used to have the 250.
Which I think would max them out. And from what I understood, Mount Holly was built for 125 students. So.
No, that's one of the issues that we'll get the details on. My own guess is that Ludlow can do it, but it'll take some money in order to redo some of the rooms and change how things are structured, since rooms will be used differently.
Might want to look at that EEI study too. All right.
Sorry,
I want to
topic there.
Yeah, no, it's great. What?
I do want to say thank you to Deb for the work on
Yes.
that.
Thank you. Yes.
All
You're
right.
welcome. I love playing with data.
And just give me a call if you have any questions about that other thing with the staff
Absolutely.
and
All right.
Beth, will you email me your phone number? I don't think I have it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Policies approved at this meeting. The D6 class size that we landed on? Yeah. Okay. And we're gonna reread cell phones next time, hoping that TRSU has approved it so that we can keep it consistent. Yeah. Public and board comment?
Assuming us.
I heard of who? I would like to just thank our teachers and staff and everybody who works at schools for Teacher Appreciation Week. I know it's a little bit late, but
Well, thank you nurses as well. For
oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that one. All right.
in some schools, you know, in some school districts during Teacher Appreciation Week, school board members come and cover classrooms.
Yeah, it's covering mine.
Well, PTG will reach out to you next year.
You want me to teach them how you need to name one
Or baked goods.
They would appreciate
Baked goods.
They might teach you something.
That's a great
So
idea.
it's a teacher.
All right. No other board comments, right, or public comments?
Nope.
No. No? All right. Then do you have the language for executive session for the first thing? Should we do the board members first and then the, help me with words.
Co-curriculars.
There you go. Co-curricular second?
You tell me.
Sure. Yeah.
So if, appointment of public officers.
Mm-hmm.
You okay with me reading the motion on behalf of the board?
Yes, please.
On behalf of the board, I move that the board enter into executive session as is allowed under 1 BSA 313(3) to consider the appointment of a public officer.
I'll move that.
Second.
And inviting Board Lane and Cheryl.
It's a board decision.
There's somebody online to be.
But then, we're having Jen and Ted.
Not for this, not
Yeah,
this
that would be
section.
for the next one.
executive section.
Yeah.
I would come in, go out, come in.
Yeah.
I think it would probably
For
be.
two different things.
I think this one would be a conflict of interest for us to, yeah, this is a.
Okay. Okay. Then just the board.
Yeah.
All right.
And that is at 8:03.
8:03.
Lane.
All right. We're recording. People are in.
We're coming there.
We're back from our executive session at 8:17. Somebody want to make a motion?
I make the motion to appoint the Mount Holly seat, board seat.
And who would you like to appoint to that seat?
Oh, all right. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I would like to appoint June Keeper. There's a name, right?
Perfect, I think. Yes, okay. Is there a second to appoint June? Beth, thank you. All right, any other discussion? I would just like to say that I think it's a really good problem to have that we had two people. And I super appreciate it. And if this vote goes through, I would hope that Kurt would, join us maybe on the committee or for other board meetings. And certainly, we're never going to turn away help.
Right, you can join the restructuring committee.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody like to abstain?
Do we need 5 votes?
Decided for.
I think it's fine.
Four.
I think we only have the ability to do 4 because you feel like The lesser of two evils, what do you think it is? That's your choice. I don't.
Yeah, so there's it's unlikely he was going to challenge it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Abstaining or voting?
If it doesn't matter, I'll abstain.
Okay, so 4 yeas, 0 nays, 2 abstains.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Then we would look to go into executive session, inviting Lane, Cheryl, Jen, and Ted.
Yeah. June saying now that you voted or she's just not a voter.
She's got to get sworn in.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
So that's an important thing, is to stop by the Mount Holly town office and have to swear you in, then you're good to go. And if you need anything, just reach out.
Okay.
Well, she actually knows your database website where I've gotten lost. She's actually knows it.
All right.
Yeah, me to do the vote. So there's, this is the double part.
Yeah, we have to, do you have it there? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so
He's got to read it first.
Yeah, we have to go into executive session. So we have to read that.
So there's 2 pieces to this that you make motions on. So on behalf of the board, I move that the board find that premature public knowledge of the labor contract negotiations regarding extracurricular stipends would put the board at a significant disadvantage.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Perfect.
On behalf of the board, I move that the board enter into executive session with Ted, Jen, the superintendent, and the business manager, as is allowed under 1 VSA 313 1B, to discuss the current state of labor negotiations with the Teachers Association regarding extracurricular stipends.
So moved.
Second?
Well, second.
Thank you. That was Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Right, what time you got?
8:21.
All right, recording's on your back.
And 9:01, we're back. Did we? I can't even remember. Oh, yeah, we did public and board comments. So then we did that. Future meetings? Is that what you just said?
No, I said no.
Just remember that these papers are in executive session.
Go back to you.
Just don't share them.
Just don't share them.
Or destroy them.
So our next meeting would be June 10th at Mount Holly. And we read and were given the agenda and materials. Yes?
Yes.
We were respectful of each other, the public and the administration.
Yes.
We handled conflict openly and constructively.
Yes.
We focused on the role and responsibility of the board. And we acted as a team once a decision had been made. We worked collaboratively. All right. So
I move we adjourn.
So next month we're at Mount Holly.
yes. All right. And Dave made a motion. Somebody want to second it?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
Amazing. I will second that.
I know.